Hello and welcome to my review of the Deep Sea Explorer Submarine. Now this is set 60379 with 842 pieces and is definitely somewhat a shrimp. But if we get started, we've got a great lineup of minifigures here ranging from scuba divers to deep sea explorers to just someone who's casually looks like they're screaming from a distance if you don't look too closely, with an extra 3 hair pieces. But we don't need to talk about the people as there's sharks in the building. But the first build here is very interesting. I think they made a good design choice aesthetically when creating this here mech, because you have good full access into the inside. Even with one hand you can easily access and put a minifigure inside, which is great. Really adds to the playability. It can swoosh down a little bit because it is on a hinge, which is also one of the big faults of it, because the main brick section, because it has a little bit of a divot and isn't a full brick, means that the legs do separate often, so you may just end up having a dual-wielding wrench mech with some nice headlamps. I think they designed it quite well because they have the hook integration on the back, but the legs are a little bit of a fault. And, you just end up with 2 walking scuba tanks and the upper half of a mech. But onto the actual cave area, we do have this rotation machine where you can spin the sharks round and round to your heart's content. It can go pretty fast. I don't really recommend grabbing it by the peg at the top, because then the entire thing kind of wobbles and weaves its way out of the set, which is not something you want during play, but doing it by the actual larger piece of the crow's nest is quite useful and works out a lot better than if you were to just grab it by the top pivot. Now the chest here, I know it's a little bit lopsided now because I've tried to reassemble it. It has a little bit of gold, which is nice. Always could use some extra gold pieces. We've got 2 jellyfish on the side, which look absolutely fantastic. You can obviously take them off and fly them around. You can have them sting your civilians if you so wish. And a nice touch is that they did actually add some glow-in-the-dark fish, so if you're tired of sleeping, you could just look at your glow-in-the-dark fish and not go to sleep, like a normal human being who doesn't need any rest whatsoever. But in the back here, we've got some more gems and jewels, and also a skeleton friend, as we can also pull in and out the large megalodon, or great white shark. And the fun thing is, there's actually a clip here where you can attach a minifigure, so they can be taken away to who knows where on their adventures. I've also included a little bit of a glow-in-the-dark fish, so our shark friend can have a nice little snack so they're not tempted by some of the guests we have here. But if we move on, we can get to the fun part, or at least still kind of a shrimp. So that's fun. I do really appreciate this sub. I thought that at the start, when really going through and building it, it seemed a little small. And thankfully, by the end of it, I no longer think so. I think it has like a good size to it. I still think that the 110 is a little bit much if it was just this, but I think the side build is quite sizable and gives you like an interesting adventure, kind of like a little mini carousel ride as well. So I think it kind of all packs in somewhat nicely. I will say these claw mechanisms are a little bit terrifying, to say the least, when they're not really hinged together in place. They can kind of just snap at you like a shark bite, and then you're going to be a little bit wary of that, I should say, because it's a little, you don't want to be messing with this shrimp at 3 a.m. But the actual submarine has some great detailings, and realistically looks like a genuine submarine here. So let's start with some of the interior details and work our way outside. Now, if we open up this top hatch, we can gain access to the main pilot seat, a little bit of a waiting bay, and also a research center, which has a little bit of veterinary care, so that our veterinarian, who looks like they're screaming if you look at them a little bit wrong, can get to work on looking at some of the animals, doing a little bit of lab work and all this. But we'll keep that there so we can pressurize each of these compartments, and then move on to the little storage bay, which can hold a nice little scouting drone here, which you can use to clip on your divers and have them go on much quicker adventures than if they were to just go ahead and swim at their own pace. It also has 2 little grabby arms, so that if you need to grab some fish or some samples, you can go ahead and do so at the safety of your loading bay. I do also like that they added a little bit of that warning stripe so that you're a little bit curious if you're sitting in there for long periods of time and then the hatch suddenly opens up and you're worried what's going to happen. Now, this back section doesn't open up, but it has a little bit of storage here so you can store some of your extra bits that you might need to. You know, some extra supplies on the road or some snacks. You will have to go outside and scoop them up later, so they might get a little bit soggy, but who doesn't want some soggy graham crackers now and then? Now, the back turbines are actually very great, and actually do have a little bit of pivot, so if you need to move it up a little bit, you need to move it down, you can, and you know, that slight range of motion is good, especially since the back turbine, it's going to be a little bit hard to show you, but that can actually move, so you can get a little bit more interactivity than if you were to just have anything. And the back, like I mentioned before, has a little hook that you can take out and have your dual wielding mech just kind of hold on to. So if you're flying upside down or the regular ways, assuming that it's hooked on properly, it'll stick around for the journey. The rest of the bottom doesn't really have too much, I guess just some handle holds so that in case you want to stay outside the submarine for any particular reason, you have that option. And it has some nice outside striping, you know, the sticker number, just some classic things. I think the outer detail, you know, they didn't put too much of it on here, but I think it all contributes to the overall aspect of the submarine that you can see. Some more handholds, of course, because who doesn't want to just grab on for dear life outside of the submarine? And honestly, I think our shark friend's a little bit hungry, so I'm going to let them feast and leave you all to enjoying your Lego business as per usual. I thank you for watching, and the cash register is on fire, so give me a moment.